Angela, thanks so much. Next week, the victims of suspected serial killer Herb Baumeister will be honored. A permanent memorial to the victims will be unveiled at a cemetery in Westfield.
Our Emily Longnecker shares the plans for the memorial just announced today. Emily.
Well, it's been 30 years since investigators found thousands of remains buried in the backyard of Baumeister's Westfield home. And over the years, we've heard a lot about how police believe these men died, what happened there, but very little about these victims as people, men, sons, brothers. Well, now a plan to honor them and remember their lives here at this Westfield cemetery.
Next week, a permanent memorial will be dedicated at Hamilton Memorial Park Cemetery. That memorial will have the names of 9 men whose remains so far have been identified. Behind the memorial, a place where victims' cremated remains can be placed in the ground. 2 years ago, the Hamilton County coroner reopened the case with the hopes of identifying more of the bones and bone fragments still sitting on a shelf at UIndy. Investigators discovered some of those remains belonged to Jeff Jones. Some of Jones' remains were already identified in the mid-90s. Now the ones identified recently will be laid to rest at the memorial to the victims after a funeral service for Jones. He Knows Your Name Ministries has spent the past 15 years burying unclaimed babies and adults in Marion County. Now they're helping the Hamilton County coroner honor the victims of Fox Hollow Farm.
I know that this funeral and this monument and dedication will never undo the horror of this crime. But we can change the narrative. We must change the narrative, because generations of families in this community need to tell a new story.
And as we speak, thousands of remains still sit on a shelf at UIndy waiting to positively be identified. The Hamilton County coroner says it's likely that some of those remains belong to victims that have already been identified and they just need to be tested. And he says some probably belong to victims who are still not known. Now, coming up tonight at 6, we'll hear from the Hamilton County coroner about that ongoing work to identify those remains and the plea he is still making to the public for help. In Westfield, Emily Longnecker, 13 News.
Thanks, Emily. Next week's service is open to the public. It begins at 10 o'clock Thursday morning at Prairie Waters Event Center in Westfield.